The Viper is one of the only cars in the world that only offers a stick shift. Having a stick shift gives you great control over your car and is part of the driving experience. It makes you feel like you're a part of the car, and that's a great thing. We spoke to a few people who know a thing or two about the Viper and about stick shifts.
Well, you know, there's been talk of putting an automatic in the Viper for years and that we'd have more sales. But, you know, the original idea of the Viper was that it was going to be a modern-day Shelby Cobra. And manual transmission only. It didn't have air conditioning very early on. Of course, customers wanted it. Didn't have cruise control until the Gen 5, but, you know, we justified it on the Gen 5 because, you know, finally we'll get it. But it's just electrons. You know, once you have electronic throttles, cruise control isn't more weight. It isn't more hardware in the car. It's not more complicated. But the manual transmission, it's just, it gives you a visceral feel. You know, I have teenage kids and nieces and nephews, and teaching them how to drive. And, you know, one thing that seems to resonate with them is, you know, think of the car as a robo-suit that you plug into, that everything's an extension of your body. And it's one of those tactile things that you're just plugged into the vehicle, you feel what's going on. It's one of those things that you drive by feel. It's one of those ways that the car gives you feedback and talks to you while you're driving. And that's one of the visual things about driving cars. You know, you've got force and deflection feedback in the steering, force and deflection feedback in the pedals and in the gear shift, all those things to make the car feel like it's an extension of your body, and you're in complete control of what's going on. You're deciding how fast, what the engine RPMs are going to be, what part of the torque curve you're going to be in while you're driving, not depending on this automatic transmission to decide on it for you. Now, we've also evolved into an area where the engine's got enough torque to where, you know, any of those paddle shifter transmissions that are in Ferraris or any of those other products actually don't have the torque capacity for the Viper. So we're also at a point where there isn't a dual clutch transmission that fits where the Viper transmission is in existence. Right. And that's one of the special things about the car. You know, you look at a lot of supercars that put out 600 horsepower, they're not putting out any more torque than a regular old V8 Grand Cherokee. And torque is what is used to size transmissions as well. So we'll see how that evolves, but I really love the manual transmission. Being able to feel the clutch take-up point, the force variation in the bell spring. You know, one of the things, a lot of manual transmission cars have a remote mounted shifter and either levers or cables to operate on the transmission. The Viper is one of the last cars where the shift lever's actually poking out of the trans, right? Okay. So you can feel the, you know, a little bit of vibration. There's some isolation, but you know you're connected to the transmission. When the engine moves in its motor mounts, the shifter moves with it. So it's old school in that effect, but it also gives you so much more tactile response because you're actually moving the forks are on the other end of that lever that are selecting gears. You're feeling the synchronizers, you're feeling all that stuff through the shift knob.
Where the Viper is still stick, that's a sports car. That makes it total sports car. That makes it closer to, you know, to that than any other car out there. You know, it just kind of makes the others kind of wimpy, I think, you know. But anybody can learn to drive a Viper. You know, you can learn to you know, drive a stick car. I mean, you can, you know. So I mean, that shouldn't stop people. But I think it stops a lot. But I would hate to see the Viper be an automatic. That's not a Viper.
I'll have to tell you what I think our younger people are changing and buying the cars. My 40-some-year-old people, they don't even want a stick. And I've told this to SRT guys several times. The younger people who never grew up driving a stick don't even know what the performance is, how to use a stick. And I know Ferrari and Lamborghini, they went away from sticks quite a few years ago. And I think eventually we're going to have to give an option for an automatic just to be competitive in the marketplace for the higher end dollar person. When that's going to be, I don't know. But it's got to happen, or I think it will sell less Vipers every year.
Stick shifts are increasingly hard to find, but hopefully they'll be around for years to come. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more episodes from the Viper video series.